Brands on Brands.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today we're talking about moments, how to create magical moments within your content, within your shows that you can highlight and share out to your audience. Check it out.
In a world where advertising is ignored, business is exposed, and the only constant is change, how do you build a brand that matters? Welcome to Brands on Brands on Brands, a home for those who think different and push their boundaries. This is where branding that matters lives. Now, here's your host, Brandon Birkmeyer.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Brands on Brands on Brands. I'm Brandon Birkmeyer, your personal marketing coach, and I believe that building a brand that matters is the only way for a business to thrive tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in each week. We have for you another piece of amazing content today. This is a solo show where I give you some advice. And this season, we are talking a lot about content marketing strategy. And specifically today, we're going to dive into, I think, what's a pretty popular topic in these days and ages, which is how to create little snackable moments within your content. You know, these are the things you see on social media all the time. The little quotes, the little clippable moments, the 1-minute videos, the sound bites and audiograms. How to think about designing from the beginning these types of moments into your content. Now, of course, a lot of the time you can capture these kinds of things organically. But what I want to make sure is that you actually also build a few moments like this into your content from the beginning. And that's what we're talking about today. I hope that gets you guys excited, and I hope you're ready for us to jump into it. So here we go.
Brands on Brands.
All right, designing magical moments in your content. Moments are important. Moments are important because most of the time we don't remember every piece of something we hear or learn or see. We do remember a couple of usually 1, 2, 3 things that stand out. And those standout ideas or concepts, I like to think of as moments. And they may be aha moments. They may be emotional moments. They may be moments of insight or moments of appreciation, or just moments where you related to what something that was being said. And the key to those is that those moments typically are remembered if they made you feel something, whether that made you feel something emotional or they made you feel something that like you learned something or the gratitude, like I mentioned. They are moments that stand out to you because it was something that you needed at that point in time. So what I'm going to talk about today is how do we think about building moments like these into our content? And I'm going to get into 3 different ways you can do that, 3 different things to think about that are pieces of this designing moments puzzle. So number 1 is stories. Number 2 is quick wins. And number 3 is quotables. So those are what we're going into today. So stories are obviously very powerful in our culture. And the hard part with moments, the hard part in leveraging stories to create moments is that stories tend to run a long time. So let me give you an example and we can kind of go from there. So I'm going to tell you a real story. This is true. This happened just a few days ago. And I was sitting eating some breakfast in the morning. It was a bit of a slow start to my day. I had the blinds open in the backyard so I could see, have some light coming in, feel refreshed, feel like I'm waking up, and this light coming in is helping me, starting to change my mood, getting me ready for the day. And with the sliding glass door open, I could hear there's a lot of birds chirping, kind of in an unusual way, a little more than usual. And there were birds flying back and forth in the backyard and landing in some erratic spots that usually the birds in my backyard don't go to. Places like I have some old Christmas lights draped under the garage eaves, and they were flying and landing on the Christmas lights, and they're flying back to, across the way to a part of the, a lower part of the fence instead of the top of the fence, and then flying into the tree and then back to the roof and then back to the lights and making a lot of noise. And whether they're playing games or fighting or whatever, or claiming their territory, whatever it was, obviously it caught my attention. And I started to paint this picture in my head thinking about, what I could learn from that. And I wasn't trying to actively do this. My mind was just kind of wandering, but I was like, well, it's funny. Like, what if these are new birds? These are birds that have never been in my backyard before. It seems like they are testing out all the different spots to be like, where do I want to stand? Because they haven't been here before. They don't know where it's comfortable, and they're jumping around and trying a lot of different things. And this is real thoughts that I had, guys. And yeah, it happened pretty quickly, but yes, my mind was wandering. And at that moment, I thought to myself, you know what? This is kind of like how I have some breakthroughs in my day. I'm like, I have a lot to do, and I'm trying to, do some new things sometimes. And sometimes instead of like overthinking it, I've just got to go and try a bunch of different spots. I've got to try different technology. I've got to, read different types of content. I've got to invest in different kinds of people to feel what is right, to see what actually resonates and works better for me. And even in creating content, like the first episode of the season, episode 121, which I would encourage you guys to read, which is entirely about my content marketing strategy. I recorded that episode 3 different times, if you believe it. And it was because I wasn't sure for the new season how I wanted the content to flow. I didn't know if I wanted it to change or be different, or if I wanted to use different types of software in recording it, if I wanted to do a more visual show, where I wanted to look, what I wanted to present, if I wanted to use slides. Like, I had a lot of ideas in my head, and I wanted to make sure it worked for both video and for podcast. And that's why I was trying it different ways. But I also wanted it to be very understandable, since it was a more important piece of my content for the season. And I want to make sure the concepts were hitting. So all of that started to translate to, I'm in a very quick blur. I was watching these birds and starting to think to myself, man, you know what? That's right. I'm happy that I have to remember to keep on trying things and not overthink it too much, to continue to put myself into new positions, new places, so that I can actually figure out what's a good fit for me. Now, that is a quick story that took a long time to deliver, right? So what I like to say is, if you're designing a story, you might have to, at the beginning of the story, come up with something you can say quickly that conveys a little bit of the story and a little bit of the lesson, so that you can clip it and make it something that you can use as repurposable content. So that same story could have been, it's funny what I learned from watching the birds the other day. They were jumping around and going place to place, and it really made me think that I need to be like the birds. I need to be better at trying new things. Now, let me explain. And from there, I can go into the story. I can tell the story top to bottom like I did, or maybe better than I did. But setting it up in a short frame like that, I was able in less than 60 seconds to give you a little bit of the story, a little bit of the lesson, and let you know why you should listen. And the people who listen to that or hear that clip may or may not, but have an opportunity to be interested in the rest of the story that may take them to my episode. And if I'm sharing this clip on social media, or I'm sharing it on one of my platforms, one of my channels, in an email, whatever it is, that little clip might entice someone to go listen for more in my episode. And that story, if you just design it a little differently, can be very effective at creating a moment in your content that you can share out there across media channels. So that's part 1 of moments. Part 2 is quick wins. So a good example is, for anyone that's listening to this episode that is interested in creating moments, is interested in creating things that they can use to promote their content. Anyone that's interested in repurposing content, or creating content that is easily distributed in different formats, in shorter forms, to places that generate new eyeballs, new discovery. I have a simple cheat sheet, a simple starter guide to how to design content like this, that from the moment you push record, and even before then, has been planned and designed to be more repurposable, to be easier to cut and clip and shorten, to create lots of content out of one piece of content. My vision for the podcast isn't that I'll have a million downloads of a podcast. It's that I can create hundreds of pieces of content from the podcast that I can share across all the media channels that actually help drive discovery of the show. So with that, I designed this amplification checklist, and you can get that just on the homepage of my website at brandsonbrands.com. You'll see it in a red box right there towards the top. It's my amplification checklist. You can click it, and it's got, I think, 10 to 15 things that you can do before you press record that will help your content be more repurposable, kind of like this episode. So that's my quick win that I give to you. So I'd like you to think about, what is your quick win that you can put into your content that your audience can use right away? And it doesn't always have to be something downloadable like the thing I gave. It might just be a tip, or it might be a shift in the way they think, or it might be something that you say, just take a moment and pay attention for just 10 seconds. What I really want you to do is think about this, or answer this question for yourself. And they might actually do that. They might actually take that moment, answer the questions, and get a quick win from what you're asking them to do. That's a content way to do it. You can also ask them to take an action that they wouldn't have normally taken. You could become their accountability partner. There's a lot of ways to create quick wins in your content that the users, the audience members, might say, you know what, if I didn't do anything else, or I don't remember anything else from that episode, that little action that I took, that little win that I got from the episode was worth it and makes me want to listen to more episodes. And those quick wins, you can also share again out in content. You can say, that little lesson that you shared, that little mindset shift, you can share as repurposable content, as a clip. Or maybe some of the testimonials you'll get, the people who said, that little thing you taught me was hugely impactful. Maybe that little thing is something you can reshare as a testimonial or as a comment on your content. So all of that helps create a moment for your business. And then the third piece is quotables. So what I'd like to say is, you're creating this feast of content. And what I'm trying to get you to create is just little moments in the content that are memorable, little extra bites, little tidbits, because the people that are listening to your content, they are looking for breadcrumbs. So don't just create content that they can consume, create breadcrumbs. Now, if I had to express that to an audience member as advice, I would say to them, you should be looking for breadcrumbs everywhere you go. Don't just consume content. Look for breadcrumbs, the small insights that grow your business, because you never know where you're going to learn the next thing. And it might be those little things that go a long way in your business. Now, the first 20 seconds of that, the first 10 seconds of that even, are a quotable clip. They are something I can put in writing, in a text format as a quotable image. It's something that I can clip the audio of and create an audiogram for, which is just an image with the waveform on it. It's a soundbite that I could use. Any of that is something that can be used over and over and over again. And I can design these things. I could come up with these ahead of time just by thinking, what's my topic today? Well, what's just one simple thing I want people to remember? What's one lesson? And you can design that. There might be lots of things I can quote today, but some of them might run for 2-3 minutes. They won't all concisely deliver a quotable message as quickly as a one-off lesson could. So my idea to you is to say, you know what, come up with a quotable for every piece of content, just one thing that you could say that's maybe 10 words or less. So for me, it would be, don't just consume content, look for the breadcrumbs. That's it. It's vague enough to drive curiosity. It's interesting enough and different that people might say, I wonder what that was about. And then they might read the content, the context of your graphic or your social post, and you might be able to elaborate on what you mean by that and where they can go to listen to the episode where you dive deeper. These are all moments within your content that you can design that drive engagement and interest. And when you can build that in from the beginning, you're creating a more well-rounded piece of content. Your entire show shouldn't be quotables or quick wins or stories. It should all work together in a full format. But if you design these things ahead of time, it should be easy for you to pepper them in, as opposed to trying to grab something that wasn't quite perfect. And when you try to make a quotable out of it, has extra fluff in it that you didn't need, or things in it that just don't really stand out. So design this ahead of time. This is one of my larger lessons within my content marketing strategy, is all the things that you can design up front. If you haven't listened to episode 121, where I lay out all of this, you're missing out. But I dive deep into design in episode 122, where I talk about your master plan for how it all works together, and episode 123, where I talk about your flow, your rhythm for connecting your story top to bottom, the beginning, middle, and end of your show, how it all flows together. So if you are listening to this and you haven't thought about or haven't even listened to these other episodes where we dive into how do you build a show from top to bottom, the master plan for your content, the flow of your content, and then today, the moments that you want to design into your content, I'd say go back. They all work together. These 3 episodes work together hand in hand. So that's what I want to leave you with today. I hope that was helpful. I know that I am challenging myself to create more and more interesting content for you. And the only way I was able to accomplish any of this was by being more thoughtful about designing this from the top down. And then I thought, you know what? I will share how I've done that with you in these episodes this week, this season. So I hope that is working for you guys. And I appreciate you for listening. And I will catch you guys next time.
You've just taken your marketing knowledge to another level with this episode of Brands on Brands on Brands. But we have plenty more ways to not just help you build a business, but build a brand. Head over to brandandbrands.com for more resources, as well as access to our blogs, videos, and exclusive coaching sessions with your host. Be sure to visit brandandbrands.com.